There's nothing worse than finding that you've spent your hard-earned money on those Pokemon cards you've always been wanting, only to receive a package full of fakes, and now you're having to face the battle with the seller to hopefully try to get your money back. This leaves so many frustrated with the hobby and trying to find the trust in those sellers, while it leaves few also willing to just leave entirely and leave this all behind them as just terrible experiences they never want to have to deal with again. Today, we're going to walk you through the tips, the tricks, the best practices, and how you can spot those fakes, but also ensure that you don't waste thousands of dollars on your next Pokemon purchase. So let's dive in. A seller experience and feedback is one of the strongest indicators as to what your experience might be. While it's not 100% conclusive, it does give you a really good view into the lens of what that transaction may be because others have already traveled the path. Looking at the reviews of any seller can often give you the glimpse that you need to make that informed decision. For some of you, buying overseas may be your only option. But when you do have the availability to buy within your country, that can often save you not only the higher dollar price, but also the higher shipping cost and customs fees to bring products into your country. Another layer of safety is having an authenticity guarantee offered by eBay, and at least for now, that's only offered within country. Another great tool that's often overlooked is what else does that seller have on the marketplace? Looking at their profile and jumping into the shop can quickly tell you if they're just a one-time and out seller, if they have other items that you can also browse, and if they're in that Pokemon space, then they're more likely to then have the knowledge and the background of what they're selling and try to do that hopefully fairly. For some of you, this may be your least favorite. However, it can save you a wealth of time and better align the expectations between you and the seller. Reading the description in its entirety and making sure you take anything and everything into account is going to better align your expectations with the sellers, while also give root to questions that may need further clarification. Which is a perfect segue into the next point, which is ask questions where clarity is needed. Every listing has an ability for you to go in, message that seller, and ensure you're able to get the clarity that you need. If the seller is unable or unwilling to provide you the clarity needed and you still have doubts, then that's probably a good reason for you to walk away. Once you found the collection that's piqued your interest, one of the next things that we highly recommend doing is tallying up the value of the cards. You may not need to do all the cards in the listing. However, doing enough to make sure that you've gotten the pages and the cards of the values that you care about most, and that equals what you're willing to pay for the product. This will often be time well spent, and you'll be surprised how often there's a difference between the value and the asking price. As if this was almost on purpose, making offers are the perfect way for you to find a happy middle ground between the seller and the buyer's expectations. It never hurts to ask. One thing is clear, if you don't ask, you'll never get what you're looking for. So now we'll dive into some of the specifics on spotting those fakes so that you can keep a keen eye and watch out. Here we have a collection that's currently for sale for $1,500. One of the first things you'll notice is where are they taking the pictures? When the pictures are being taken in places like a bed with no sheets or on dirty floors or in hotel rooms, that can often lead to potential correlations in the other aspects that you've already viewed. Then you can take note of things such as poor lighting, blurry pictures, and while sometimes some of us may not be the best photographers, it can also sometimes be with intention to hide detail. One of the first things that fake cards often fail to do is have the proper texture. And when that texture is off, you can almost notice it right away when you know the card. But when that card is unfamiliar to you, the best way to go about validating if this is a real card or not is to go look at a real card. Ideally, you would go to trusted grading companies such as PSA, CGC, and BGS because they've done the authentication work for you and you're simply wanting to validate that against what you're seeing here in your respective collection. And as we can see in this image, we have a Gengar Mimikyu from Tag Team. The light shines off of this card somewhat in a vertical fashion, and yet we see no texture on this poor quality image. So as we then look at a real image of Gengar and Mimikyu, there's lots of texture. The light's not reflecting off of this vertically, but instead in almost a diagonal fashion. And this is the way it's supposed to be. Anytime you have texture on a card like this, the light simply doesn't just go vertically or horizontally. It typically breaks apart and goes in different directions, and that gives this horizontal or even sometimes a cross-hatch look. Another great indicator, and often where the fakes fail, is color. Many times the color of the Pokemon cards are so vibrant and so detailed, looking at any fake will jump out to you once again when you know that card. Here in this case we have a Sneasler V. This card has beautiful artwork in the background. It has the sun, but it also has many green forests and mountains. When looking at this card, it looks quite bland, flat, and lackluster. And once again, comparing this to a trusted grading company such as PSA, we can quickly see the vibrancy of this card. We can also see the texture as it runs from top to bottom, but then also the technical color collaboration that brings the beauty to this card that often is lackluster and missing in our fakes. Another dead giveaway is when the binder or collection that you're looking at is also riddled with well-known fakes. Anytime you have high dollar cards and fakes all mixed together, it typically leads to a bad outcome. Here we have what would supposed to be a base set Charizard sitting right next to a truly never released by Pokemon Gold Pikachu, and it's one of the many gold cards that are sold as fakes to kids and unfortunately fall within many of the binders as you look across the Pokemon market. Mixing these two worlds often is not what any real collector or any person that knows enough about Pokemon cards would typically do. Seeing them here together either says they don't know they have fakes in their collection and or they're doing it knowingly, and there's no telling what else can be in the binder. And with that, remember that not all sellers know enough to know that they may be selling fake Pokemon cards. And while their intentions aren't negative towards you or the community as a whole, it is always going to be in your best interest to navigate these waters with caution and a sound foundation of information. Thankfully, not all these tips, tricks, and best practices are needed on every single transaction. However, now you have the toolbox that you can pull the tools out when needed and ensure that you can make the best purchase decisions for you and your future. As always, we thank you for spending your time here with us today at Pokemon Wonder. We wish you a great day, and we look forward to seeing all of you on the next one.